not following the lead. They're seeing it, but they're not going. What if you did the opposite?
So podcast, as we like to say.
Yeah, it's begun. Yeah, I think something I was just thinking of is like with everything that the smartphone has done to replace video. It's like these like the video camera used to be like 5 acres wide, and now it's just in your pocket. But like the audio equipment is still kind of 5 acres wide. There's like I was surprised by like how much I actually had to get.
Yeah, it gets complicated. I mean, video does too when you actually want to go beyond like say like a phone. But yeah, it is interesting, and it's cool to see how like stuff is getting better and better. Like say even for YouTube, like the phone is so good at this point, but the audio is actually what's worse. And you'd have to get this like big clunky mic to like put on your phone if you wanted any decent real video, right?
Yeah, it's in a sense it's kind of I guess we should maybe give people context is that this is the first like what the fuck are they talking about? This is the first podcast that we're doing since I moved to Austin, so we're both looking at each other through computer screens. We're Skyping and then we're recording it but we got like a nice mic set up each, and we're gonna sync it up later. But it's almost a competitive
we have
advantage,
the same
like for like
mics.
YouTube and stuff.
Yeah. So for the context thing, we're using the same mics as usual. We're just recording in different states. So I think the finished product should actually be pretty seamless. Like I don't think it should really sound different on the listener end. Though I guess with Skype, like there is like a slight delay, so our cadence might still be like a little off. Like even when you were saying what you were just saying, like I thought you were done, and then I started talking, and then I realized there was like a slight, like we're not exactly at the same time. But I think it feels more normal than I expected. And what I was saying before we started recording is, I mean,
dude, I think we're at the same time. The internet is like, it's pretty instantaneous.
I think there's still I think you'd be surprised. There's still a slight delay with Skype for sure. I've noticed it before, but I don't know. It's slight. It's slight, okay. But I think like on like a subconscious level, it probably still affects like conversational cues and stuff like that. Like I'm seeing you nod, and it's like, did you nod at the precise millisecond that I really think you did? Like
I did, man. I promise.
Yeah. No, what I was saying before starting this is it's funny. Like people listening can't see this, but typically Sam and I are sitting on my couch, which is kind of like a long couch in my apartment, and we sit at like opposite ends facing each other. And right now I'm like sitting in my usual spot facing my usual direction, except I have Sam on a laptop. So it's like it feels oddly normal too.
This crazy person sitting on a couch talking to a computer for 2 hours or whatever.
With like a professional microphone. This looks really weird for my neighbors right now, probably. But
so,
whatever.
Computer, how do you feel about Austin, Texas?
Yeah, so how does computerized Sam... No, seriously. I actually think that'd be a great place to start. Is like, dude, I mean, we have hardly even talked that much since you've moved. I mean, we've texted here and there and stuff, but like, you moved to Austin. Holy shit. What's the, like, let's hear the story. How's it been?
Yeah, I feel like I'm just like what's an analogy? Kind of like you're on the plane for 5 hours and you just getting used to the engine noise, and then you step off and you feel like fucking like Buddha or something. You're like, oh my god, like it's peace again. Like I didn't even know, or like the loud air conditioner that you forget about, like. That's kind of just how everything feels. Like, oh my god, like it was just like so loud for 2.5 years, and there was constant everything, and like it's just the city itself. I mean, of course, like I really don't know that many people here, so it's I don't have like a vibrant social life or anything right now. But in terms of the city itself, it's just like a much quieter city, like compared to LA. But it's still a city, you know. There's a lot happening here. There's parking where I live. There's parking where I go. Unless it's downtown Austin, but there's a lot of like we spent almost no time in downtown LA, and that metaphor kind of holds. Like there's a lot of places that aren't downtown. There's still Austin. So it's just like so much less rushed, I would say. And I'm not even trying to like, I feel like I'm just like catching my breath almost in life and just trying to like take it easy. And like, I've been working a lot. So like mainly focused on work. Um, and I could see myself, I really like the city itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like even the downtown, it still feels much less hectic than like
Yeah.
a San Francisco or a downtown LA or by a
Dude,
long
yeah.
shot.
Yeah, no, even the downtown. I mean, it's like it's a very like clean downtown, I would say.
Yeah.
It feels like how do I describe it? Like it couldn't be more different than DC because DC is this very more like northeastern type like you can tell it was built like that by like colonial people or something. But it is just very like modern and clean and like even like so much slower pace and like less honking. I mean, there's honking, but it's just like LA feels like being in fucking Need for Speed, the fucking like LA edition or something.
Yeah, I mean, everyone talks about LA traffic and crazy drivers driving on the sidewalk and shit. But I always notice when I am driving down from Northern California to LA when we're up visiting family is there's like this noticeable, I don't even know like what highway interchange it is or whatever, but I swear there's this one spot where there's a checkpoint in the road and like all of the sudden everyone starts driving a little crazier and it's just like I'm back in LA now. It's literally like there's a line.
Yeah, there's like a certain flow to it almost. Like
Yeah.
there's almost like it's like almost not even just chaos. It's like organized chaos. There's like cars just like weaving and
Yeah.
I don't know.
I know we
But-
both just listened to the random show with Kevin Rose and Tim Ferriss, which was a great episode. And something that Tim mentioned was I think he said he had just spent like 2 weeks or something in Utah, like the forest, something. And he said how, you're in New York City and you get off the plane in Austin and it's just like, like you don't realize you've been, carrying this fucking backpack around. But then he said in the same way, there's levels. He felt like going from Austin to the pure forest nature. Then when he got back to Austin, he's like, whoa, like there's a lot going on here, but it's all levels, and Austin is definitely, not the most uncharted territory in the world by any means, but it's definitely a step less intense than LA for sure. Yeah, I'm excited to go back. I love Austin. I mean, it's one of the few places that I would consider moving, and it's awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to come visit.
Yeah, and I get the sense that I can't be sure, but I get the sense that there are probably a lot of like entrepreneurs here doing entrepreneurial things and creators, and it might not be as ubiquitous as LA. Like it's definitely not as ubiquitous as LA, but it's also much easier to get to 100% of the city here. Where in LA, the part of the city that's within 15 or 20 minutes from you is, probably 10%. In Austin, the percentage of the city that's within 15 or 20 minutes of you, as long as it's not like between 5 and 6 p.m., is probably like 80%. So.
Yeah, and even if it is a little bit of a drive, there's just a difference in intensity of the drive. Like I've noticed that, like remember when we would drive down to Encinitas and stuff, like you can sit in 2 hours of that and it doesn't feel as fatiguing as 20 minutes of heading towards Santa Monica,
Oh my God, yeah.
It's literally a crazy difference. So yeah, no, I mean that's really true. I mean from my perspective, I think I would almost put Austin above LA in terms of entrepreneurial scene. I mean, it seems like everybody I follow, every interesting company these days, every podcast I listen to, every whatever, it's so much of it is Austin. And, I think part of it's my personality too, but I don't feel particularly like I'm plugged into this LA entrepreneur scene or anything. I'm just here doing my thing. And, I'm more concerned with my friends scene than the entrepreneurial hub scene. But I mean, I think for anyone single wanting to do entrepreneurship really seriously, I mean, I feel like Austin is literally number one without a doubt. It's not even like a second choice to a San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York. To me, I think it's honestly number one.
Yeah, and there's something to be said for San Francisco, probably in terms of just the actual people, the actual successes. Probably has like way more than Austin, but that's thinking sort of about the last 10 years, just the successes. You think about what's happened in the past, and certainly San Francisco will continue to have that. But in terms of just like the whole thing combined, like lifestyle, the amount of space that you have to stretch out without hitting 5 people, accidentally, like it's just there seems to be more breathing room, which everybody has a different tolerance for that based on just, I don't know, maybe your upbringing or your genetics and nervous system. And I've just found that it's hard for me to really be at my peak when I'm just around the noise all the time, and I'm sleeping better.
Yeah, dude. I agree. There was a great quote. I think we discussed this a while back, but it went something like the more you are annoyed by sound, the more like awake you are, or something like that. I mean, it was saying like, the people that are not bothered by this are just the zombies, Yeah. And I was like, yeah, maybe it's like, whereas like, or maybe it's the other way. Maybe like we're so overly sensitive or something, and that's why we're like, I can't handle this. Whereas other people are like, what do you mean? Like LA is super chill. Like I know one of my friends that, like a business friend of mine, he's in New York City, and when he comes to visit out here, and I'm like, yeah, like I'm thinking of moving somewhere and calming down. He's just like, what the fuck are you talking about? You literally live by the beach. You're like a fucking bum. Like, you want to go somewhere chiller? Like, what are you talking about? He doesn't understand. But
I don't buy that, though, because, like, LA, I mean, yeah, New York is fucking crazy, but even LA, compared to almost any other city I've ever been to, is pretty crazy. So it's like, bro, have you ever been to anywhere other than New York? Like, it's still pretty crazy in LA.
Yeah, it's still, that's a great point. Yeah. It's not New York City, but it's still towards the top of the pack.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not in downtown LA. I'm not even in Santa Monica. I'm in the beach. And it's like, what I can't figure out, and this even relates to the sleep and, sound and earplugs and all that stuff, which we might get into, is when I stop and think about, like, I'm looking out the window right now, and it's like I see these calm waves. I see like palm trees like gently dancing in the wind. I see some bikes strolling by. Not much sound at all. Yet, like, why do I feel that there's an intensity here, even when there kind of isn't? Right? It's like sometimes I'll be like, oh yeah, it's so fucking noisy at night, but then I'll think about it and I'll be like, wait. Because like I'll travel and I'll be like, oh, it's so much quieter here. I'm sleeping so much better. And then I come back and I'm like, wait, actually, it's fairly quiet here too. There's just a certain, there's something in the air. I don't know. There's just a feeling of intensity that I can't quite even put my finger on. Like, where is it coming from? Like, is it, EMFs? Is it, some other form of pollution? Being within a few miles of an airport? Is it? I don't know. But there's just some level of intensity.
I understand what you mean.
Yeah.
I wonder if it has to do with the people.
Like the
culture,
the density of people, or just how people are feeling.
I think in LA there's so many people that are like just aspiring, which is great and inspiring, and it's like the height of America within America in terms of that cultural aspect. But there's just a lot of people that are like I don't know, just have these like strong personalities and are like maybe like ego battles going on all the time, just constantly in LA, because people are trying to like be famous and be successful, and just like are just so insecure in LA. And that just permeates through the entire, even though it's not everyone, it like somehow like every city has a unique way of walking and culture, and it's very subtle, but you notice it when you're there. And I think in LA, people's just like maybe way of moving and way of talking and way of like these things that you just like forget about until you go to say like Amsterdam or somewhere else that's like more chill.
Yeah.
Not to just take a fucking big shit on LA, but like that would be my, I don't know what if I bounce that off you, how's that? What do you think of that?
I can definitely personally relate on a lot of levels. You know, I mean, you know, but I guess people listening might not know. Jessica and I were in Mexico really recently, and you know, that's obviously was super chill. And since coming back here, like I've had a pretty negative feeling about LA since getting back, to be honest. And again, don't get me wrong, not just a shit on LA show, though we can do some of that for sure.
Down.
It's especially like the few days I got back, it was just really foggy, you know, like, which also coincided with the crazy Kobe thing, which gave a weird vibe in LA too. And it was just so foggy, and it just felt so nasty. Like there was just this nasty vibe out, and I just got back, and I was just like, ugh. I just didn't do anything for a few days, and just felt weird. Now today, it's like freaking really sunny and nice, but I don't know. I think I'm like, I mean, I think I would put. There's no way. Like I'm definitely closer to. I've spent the majority of the time I'll spend in LA. Like I don't know how soon I'm leaving, but I know for a fact it's not going to be longer than I've already been here. You know what I mean? Like whether it's this year or within a few years, like I'm on the way out. It just doesn't quite feel right, but I still feel like I love it. I mean, there's so many positives, but obviously when we talk about something like this, it's like we have to bring up the negatives. But no, like to the point of like how people act and look and want to be famous and all that. I don't even know who's to blame. Is it the people, or is it just something, again, to put it in weird terms, in the air? Because
I mean, LA's a magnet for. Go on, go.
Yeah. So I felt this. So when I was in Mexico, or when like when we've been to even chiller places like Hawaii. This might sound really like a weird example, but two things. One is I love wearing white shoes typically. Like I'm a white shoe person. I feel like it looks really clean, fresh. Like it makes me feel like lighter on my feet. Like it just feels fresh, you know?
Okay.
And I also like I clearly I like am slightly OCD about my hair sometimes, right? Like I try to like put it a certain way, right? Those two things. And when I'm in a place like Hawaii or Mexico, I'm just like, what are you doing with those white shoes, bro? Like there's fucking dirt, like it's chill, like people are sweating, like it's just so not the vibe. But then I get back to LA and I immediately feel like, oh, I need to like I feel like, and it's not that I am even thinking about how people will think about me. It's that it's how I feel. It's like I feel like I want to be a little bit more put together when I'm here in LA. Like I want to feel a little bit more clean cut, you know, freshly shaved, like clean shoes. And I don't really give a shit what people think, but for some reason I feel like that's the vibe here. Whereas somewhere else I'm like, dude, like loosen the fuck up, right?
Yeah.
I think that relates to what you're saying.
No, I do. I get that too. I mean, I feel like LA just has such a sense of like style and design and fashion. And you get, you just naturally learn by just like the whole vibe of it. And it's fun. I see that. Even like walking on Abbot Kinney, like it just, the feeling of walking on Abbot Kinney is just like, this is kind of a cool place. Like,
oh yeah, I mean Abbot Kinney
cool.
for sure is like a freaking Instagram model's dream, right? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but for how let's go.
No, I was just gonna say just an observation of how I've been interacting with LA is I've definitely been venturing out of my area less and less and less. Like even Abbot Kinney, like I'm thinking like when's the last time I walked down Abbot Kinney? Like not that recently for how relatively close it is. I don't know. I like my little bubble here, but yeah, I mean, we went to like the Pasadena area a couple times recently, and I'm just like, dude, getting over here is like fucking torture. It's crazy.
Yeah. I don't know. I am really excited to visit though. It's just I realized like where I want my kind of base camp for the year to be is somewhere that's on the much quieter side. And then when I travel, you know, traveling is hectic and it's fun too. But it's also fun because it kind of stimulates your nervous system and you're all like excited. But if you have that for too long, it's just like kind of running on a treadmill that you can't turn off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how's the situation with like how are you liking Outsite, and like, you know, like are you working at coffee shops mainly, or, you know, what's your day been looking like?
Yeah, so just for some background, Outsite is this like kind of co-living place targeted towards digital nomads, and I have a love-hate relationship. So like I'll say like it's great in terms compared to LA, especially. Like it's just I'm living on this like quiet street and I'm near all these like cool healthy restaurants, and like the house is really sweet and there's like great places to work. What's frustrating about Outsite is that I feel like the community itself could be so much better, and it just doesn't seem to be in the DNA of this company somehow to like cultivate that effectively, and I can't figure out why. But like I don't know, like in the entire house there's not like one thing hanging on the wall, and there's like empty bookshelves, and like it's somehow like the attention to detail just isn't quite. And like I don't know, like when you're about to stay in, they like send like 14 rules that are all like capitalized, like don't do this, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, and like somehow the tone just comes off as a little bit like we're scared of you, like
rather than like being just welcoming. And I think that I always am paying attention to that with Airbnbs, which I feel like can relate to this on a lot of levels. It's like some Airbnbs send you this like warm welcome, like all this stuff, and then some are just like rule number 1.
right.
Yeah, I think it's just like it's like a how to win friends and influence people thing. It's like you can have all the rules, they should have rules, but it's how do you present those rules and all that. But yeah, I think for an entrepreneur space especially, like those little touches, at least to people like you and me, I think they mean a lot, right? Like having some inspirational books or quotes on the walls, or, you know, just these little artistic touches, like they just lead to a space being inspiring, which is something I've thought I've spent way too long, maybe not too long, but I mean, it's occupied me so much the last year or two, is like, you know, really trying to make my place feel inspiring, you know, plants and cool art, and I don't know, just like even specific stuff, like it makes a difference. Like you are your environment.
Yeah, for sure. In terms of, I would say, like for my goals right now, which is just focus on work, focus kind of not 100%, but mostly on work and my health. It's kind of the perfect place because there's not like, maybe if they had like drinking social hour every Thursday and there was 12 people living here and they were all super cool, like I would definitely go to that and I would definitely have a great time. But there isn't that, so I'm just like working, and it's a great place to work and focus. So it's perfect for my goals right now, I'd say. Yeah.
Just an idea, but since you're so good at organizing stuff like that, I'm sure you would be the perfect person to, you know, bring that up with other people. Have you met cool people, or are people in and out a lot, or are you seeing like some people that are, you know, more a little more settled, like kind of what you're doing?
Yeah, I'd say probably 50% of the people will stay for a month or longer. So there's always at least one or two familiar faces, which is nice. People generally do their own thing. But, you know, some people will come here for a week, like looking to kind of be travelers. And I met these two super cool guys like a week and a half ago. And like they told me about this cool digital nomad thing where you go to different countries for a month long and you live with like, they just said like the group is so great. It's called Wi-Fi Tribe. And like these guys were super cool, and now I think I'm going to do that. So, you know, I think that it's kind of like hit or miss with the people I'm meeting here generally, but I think that over time, I'm staying here for like 2.5 months, so it's a good place to run into people, and just random serendipities can happen.
Totally. And you only need one or none. I mean, if none happens, that's fine too. But, you know, if you even meet one super awesome person, I mean, that makes it, you know, worthwhile in the networking sense. But no, it sounds cool overall.
For
And then
sure.
so do you like work there, or are you going around to coffee shops? And
I will work here maybe half the time, and then when I want kind of just to get out of the house, I'll go to coffee shops. And dude, let me say also, the fucking coffee shop scene here is maybe the strongest in the country. There are so, in terms of working at a coffee shop, there are so many like super like cool coffee shops, like 24/7 coffee shops. There's a bunch of um, just like seating everywhere, just like space. People are friendly. Like I think the coffee shop game here is so strong. In LA, I found like one coffee shop that like was generally pretty quiet, which felt like a miracle. The rest of them were just packed and had these like kind of like trendy looking long desks that were about 8 feet wide and like 1 foot long. And you have to like balance your laptop on it and sit on this fucking like trendy square looking chair, and you like 2 inches from the person next to you. It's just like theoretically cool, but actually just a pain.
yeah, I think it comes down to space and real estate costs and all of that, because
Yeah.
there is no, I mean, like anytime Jessica and I are traveling, we're like every day let's try a new coffee shop, like let's, and it always cultivates, you know, interesting conversation or work, because you're like changing your environment and all of that. And we obviously love coffee and trying new spots that are, you know, whatever's like the highest rated will go, you know. But LA sucks for that, and I think it's just because I think it's just the space and the costs of doing business here is just it's like, how do they even stay open here? It's kind of amazing, right? I mean, yeah. And they're all like, none of them really have like a great spot to chill, or if they do, it accommodates like 6 people, and it's like there's 25 people waiting for one of those chairs or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, but yeah, Portland has a really good coffee shop scene. Though I feel like their coffee is a little almost not hipster enough for my taste, which probably sounds so stupid because I feel like Portland is a super hipster place, but it's weird. They kind of give you those like old school mugs, and it all just seems like a little old school diner coffee shop. But I like those like fucking, you know, I need like some latte art, and you know, maybe not a stool that's tipping over, but maybe like a succulent or something.
Yeah, man, I get that. Yeah.
Yeah. How's work stuff? Any like new things that you
Yeah.
you want to be publicly aired?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give kind of a brief overview. Like, we're still, me and Andre are working on the browser stuff again, and it's we just put in time to like really like organize the business and like do things the right way, and it's starting to grow again, and yeah, like we're now able to like track very accurately like our costs and like what we're making. So it's been exciting, and we made like different video ads and stuff, so I'm excited about that. And in terms of I would love to have time for crypto, and like I bought the domain bitcoin.guide last year, and like I'm hoping to set that up, but I just haven't had time.
That's cool. I mean, the tracking sounds key. I feel like
Yeah.
tracking is still the biggest problem in online marketing and ads. It's just really hard to know what's really going on in so many cases. It's all so much more complicated than people want to believe, right? But no, that sounds great. I mean, it sounds like things are going really well. I definitely would be curious to talk like, you know, more off the podcast or whatever about that. But
For sure.
yeah,
How about-
no, that's cool.
Dude, how about you? How's the RSNV?
It is going pretty well. I mean, as expected, we had like a big push of pre-orders at the discount, you know, a month or two ago at this point, 6 weeks maybe,
Yeah.
which was exceeded expectations. But then as expected, I knew there would be a lull from all these early adopters to then like the actual launch, right? So that did happen, you know, like went to very little and still is, but now pre-orders all like got delivered, which is fantastic. Like every single day now we're getting tagged on Instagram stories
Wow.
at rsnv.co. Like people people are installing them, posting pictures, tagging us. It's really cool. So I think it's really starting to happen with the word of mouth in the community, and the forums, the Facebook groups, all of that. So it's only a matter of time until like the full price sales start rolling in more, and also the new car that it's going to be compatible with is still not even delivered in the US. There's been some deliveries in like the UK and stuff, but within probably another month, they're going to start being deliveries every single day of these cars in the US, brand new ones that it's going to be compatible with. So that's going to be like a major opportunity. So if we can, this sounds like so small compared to what people are probably used to with hearing like, Amazon stuff. But if we can get to a point, like this is I feel like it's a long shot of me saying it, yet it sounds so funny at the same time. If we can sell one a day of these things, like I would be freaking thrilled. It'd be epic.
Yeah. Are you doing any kind of like keyword advertising, like when someone searches it on Google?
No, and that should be the first thing we do, I think. We haven't put anything into ads other than giving them to some notable people, like influencer type stuff, I guess you could say. Yeah. Zero on ads. I mean, everything is like set up pixel wise. So, I mean, I could do some basic cart abandonment retargeting, like might get to that, but it is so community based that like I feel like they already know about it. But I mean, everyone could always use a nudge or a reminder, but I do think the keyword based is key. I mean, you're definitely right with that, because that's just like people typing in that product, they need to see ours for sure.
Are your competitors running those ads?
Yeah, some of them are, or like retailers that they sell to are, like not always direct, but yeah, they do come up in the sponsored on Google. Yeah, I really should set that up. Thanks for the reminder, but
it'll be interesting to see what the costs are, because I mean, I imagine for something like this, like intent-based targeting, such as someone searching that, is probably gonna be like exactly what you need. Because if you might inspire someone like just to think of you when the time comes, but if they're actually searching for it and they're ready to make that buy, like you want to be up there.
Totally. No, that's a great point. I think that's probably would be the most effective thing for this, second to like just all the word of mouth in the community, because it really is a small community, right? And these people like all hang out with each other and talk in the same places online and stuff like that, which that part we're nailing. I mean, the amount of, that's what's so wild is I feel like the amount of organic discussion around this product in a matter of like 1 month is way beyond anything I've ever achieved in years of other products. It just so resonates with the community, which is really cool. Like there's, threads all over the forums, posts in the Facebook groups, like not even our groups or our forums or whatever. It's just like the general community is talking about it, which is cool. Yeah. Thinking what else might be new there. I'm wearing a shirt that says it on it.
Love it.
That's kind of cool. Been representing. I'm like decking out my car with like banner stickers with the brand name, which is cool. So
that's sick.
What else? I feel like I've been saying this for about 2 years, but I'm just always kind of trying to get back to a good routine, and there's been so much, like just for months and months and months, like little trips and stuff. And now we're back trying to get back in a routine. So, had a good run on YouTube again, then fell off again, then which is same old. But I do. I probably don't want to get into this too much yet, but I am working on a new project that I'll tell you about. After whatever. But like I'm working on a new course with a partner who has an expertise on something, and that's interesting. So I'm excited about that.
Can I ask if it's Amazon related?
It is.
Okay.
It is related to.
Is that partner somebody who has an expertise on hours of work weeks less than 5, greater than 3? Is it Tim Ferriss?
Yes, it's Tim Ferriss.
Oh, God.
No. So basically it has to do with like a method of, you know, relying less on Amazon. But it's not just like Facebook ads.
Okay. Yeah. Nice.
So yeah, I think it's interesting because I think it's something that everybody will realize they need, and nobody is really talking about. Like, it just seems like kind of a white space.
Yeah.
Like there's nobody talking about this really, and I don't know why I'm even being like, oh, I might as well say it, right? I mean, it's not, I don't know. It's just because I haven't like publicly announced or anything, but like, so basically I'll just say it, whatever. Doesn't matter. So a friend of mine has crushed on Amazon and off of Amazon for years. Like, I don't know, probably did like 6-7 million in a year on Amazon or something like that.
Okay.
And, you know, traditionally, like the way people think about getting off of Amazon is Facebook ads, email lists, like everything, which is fantastic. I'm not bashing that by any means, but obviously it's very, very, very difficult to like run cold ads, get profitable sales, like build up all this stuff. Like when you have that, you win, but that's very, very hard. And I feel like everyone is ignoring this other path, which this friend of mine has really figured out as a solution on top of doing the other thing, is going to retail, you know, getting your product into stores. And yeah, I'll save like all the juicy details maybe, but I think it's a big opportunity, and I think that, you know, it's an unlooked way of getting your reliance off of Amazon. So he's done very, very well with that, with his brand. I mean, you have a brand. The pitch, I feel like, is so easy. Like, rather than, hey, you should start a business selling on Amazon, have to convince somebody of that. Rather, it's like, hey, do you have a product already? Yes. No. Okay. No. Go away. Yes. Okay. Amazon is hard. Are you doing well or are you doing not well? Either way, you should probably think about doing this too, right? So it just seems very interesting, and he has, you know, developed this expertise in this. So I'm trying to use what I've learned from doing a course and plug it into his expertise, and it would be interesting to my audience. So I feel like it's kind of synergistic.
Yeah, I get the sense that courses and like online education in general is still so early, and I think that it's cool that you're kind of on the forefront of that. And I agree, that seems like kind of a white space, and I would be interested in like kind of the killer details of retail, because a lot of people probably have this connotation of retail just like being sort of the old way. So I don't know. Anyway, I'd be interested, but I'm sure like if he's doing fucking $6 million in sales, then he knows.
Yeah, it's interesting because like the Facebook ads and all that is super sexy, right? Like everyone wants to learn that, but I think if people realize like, wait, there's a whole other thing that in a lot of ways is way more straightforward, right? And people also think of like, oh, well, I don't want to have shit margins. Well, dude, I mean, you're probably already giving Amazon 80% of your shit anyways. And in a lot of cases, by wholesaling, you're getting the same, if not more margin than you would be by selling direct after ads and all of that.
Does it work best for higher cost products?
No.
I guess everything.
I don't think so. I mean,
Okay.
the main products he's wholesaling are relatively cheap, actually.
Interesting. Huh.
Yeah. He's got into some pretty solid retailers. But yeah, it's funny because I feel like it's something that it doesn't have that sex appeal, right? But I feel like once people are presented with this, it's like, oh, yeah, I can't ignore this. So,
Interesting.
hopefully it resonates with people. I think it should, but I think it comes down to like, this is one of the first times I've even, you know, said it out to somebody, and I'm realizing I don't have the proper communication pattern yet to explain it, but you know, to be able to lead somebody from where they are now to realizing that what this is, I'll have to cultivate that. But I think that it's when people realize, I think it's like, oh, right, like I should be thinking about this either in addition to all of the full suite digital marketing I'm trying and likely failing to do, or instead of for now, because either way it's going to, you know, decrease your reliance on Amazon, increase your business overall, increase the valuation of your business because you're multi-channel. So it just seems win-win-win, and you're not convincing people. I I may have even said this last podcast, but part of me like really would love to just completely stop like the regular Amazon course, because I just hate the space. The space has just gotten so shitty, and for a while I'm like, yeah, well, I'm gonna do it this way in this space, but it's just still just a shitty. It's just like it's just not a fun space when so many bad players are just making it dirty, right? So
it's gotten like this like scammy kind of.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like, and I think that a lot of that comes from the fact that you're selling somebody on an opportunity, right? You're saying, do you want to make money? Do you have a job you don't like? Well, look at this pretty little shiny opportunity. Whereas something like what I'm talking about with this is you're talking to business owners. You're talking to people that are already in it, and you're just giving them another tool. And like, I can't imagine anybody being like, that's a scam. Like, it just doesn't have that connotation anymore. When it's very, very specified and it's direct to business owners. You're not convincing freaking children to start a business on their parents' credit card or whatever a lot of people are doing. You're talking to existing entrepreneurs, successful or unsuccessful, and saying, you might want to look at this a little differently. Here's another thing that you could layer on top of it. Right. So, I would love to move that direction. Sorry.
What I find is the main issue with these online courses, and I don't know, it's probably not super simple to correct it, is that, especially with this business opportunity, the incentives of the teacher is not in line with the incentives of the student, And certainly everybody who wants to do a good job with the course, they want to make it so that people make money and their successful students are going to leave reviews and refer people, but they're not investors, and they're not actually making money based on the students. And, I think that is what would make it, you can't question anyone's motives if their money is based on the people that they teach, and that, comes with its own trade-offs. But I think it's not happening right now, but eventually there's going to be some sort of online system where the person teaching people how to make money is not charging them money, but instead making money based on a royalty.
Dude, that's a great idea for a platform. Like a teaching platform to create that because I think the complication there, and I have done that with really only one student on a serious level. On the other ones, it was like we were going to do it, but it just ended up like not, frankly, me not having the bandwidth to do that either, because it was more involved. It wasn't just like, hey, anybody who takes the course, I get X percentage. It was more like, hey, a couple of people that I'm really intrigued by, I will work with you for a percentage. The one that I did went, fairly well. I wouldn't say, not like millions of dollars in profit, but we've definitely made some money from it. But I think the complication is like the
greater or less than the cost of the course would have been
that I made.
Yeah.
Oh, like way more.
Okay.
But
also your work was way more.
Yeah, but no. I mean, like just my cut that, like, because he hasn't paid me yet. By the way, I mean at this point,
zero.
Well, he had paid me in the past for consulting already, but we're now going to like sort of consolidate and pay each other out for up to today. And it's gonna be 5 figures to me in that range. So I mean, it's like it's definitely more than a course, but
nice.
But the thing is that like, you can't do that on every single student because it's way too much bandwidth. So I don't know. You'd have to maybe figure it out. You'd have to figure out some legal framework. How do you trust the student to pay the teacher? How do you do you collect their payments? Like, how does it all work?
I mean, dude, these are questions that would obviously get answered, but we don't need to think. I mean, we're just thinking through the mechanics of it. I promise you there's a way. There is a way. It's more a matter, I guess it's less a matter of creating a course and more a matter of like creating a school.
Yeah. I like the concept. That's the reason that my brain was immediately going into the technical stuff. But
no, but I guess what I'm
yeah.
saying is I'm not saying it's not important. I'm just saying like don't get bogged down in the details because you wouldn't have to trust the students. Like there would be a legal framework in order to make it happen.
Yeah, and at scale such that you could have, potentially thousands of students that you all have a small percentage from or something. But
Yeah.
that would be a great way to go because then, wow. And what's extremely interesting about that? And then we can move on. We don't have to go through every detail. But what's really interesting
No,
about
I'm
that is
interested.
maybe there would they even pay to get in, or could it just be open to anyone who is willing to sign that contract for the percentage? Because then you could have a massive pool of people. Like imagine that there was an Amazon course that rather than paying $1,000, you would give, whatever percent, I'll say 1% of your revenue. Let's say, just to keep it simple. I don't know what would actually make sense, and you would, have to agree to that to get the information. But then you wouldn't actually be paying anything. So maybe you'd get, maybe way more people would take you up on that, right?
Yeah, and I do think there would need to be some sort of application process because you're going to be investing your time or people that work for you's time into this. So you want to just have high quality, like you want to make it competitive. And if people get in, you want your percent, your stat would be of everybody that gets in. This is the percentage of people that make 5 figures, 6 figures, whatever. So that's like your reputation on the line with that. But I think that, I don't know, dude, for something like this, it's not a matter of if it'll exist, but when. Like, it's coming.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I mean, I'd honestly love to revisit this or talk about it more off later or something, because I think it's really interesting. And it's something that even came up with this, product to wholesale course, because the way that industry works is that you always have sales reps that take a small percentage of the wholesale value, right? Like that's how they make their money. Like somebody gets you into a store, the rep that got you in takes, whatever percentage of the orders. Well, what if we had a team of sales reps that had connection to stores and we just plugged that in and had a small percentage of getting our own students into our own connections to our own stores with our own sales reps. It's a possibility as things.
The school too.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility as things move forward.
Yeah, that's why people go to Harvard for connections.
Yeah. I mean, especially that's really true. Like if we open up his direct contacts, things like that. Yeah, but to circle back, I guess we got here by what am I working on? But just to close that loop, definitely coming back to YouTube as always. Trying to give that a real shot here soon. Something really interesting is Jessica's YouTube is extremely interesting right now. We can get into that for a minute. So
yeah.
Jessica posted probably. I mean, she probably posted her first video a year and a half ago now. And, she didn't give it, to be honest, she didn't give it a real effort. She posted a few videos here and there, would stop for a while, months at a time, had 100 subscribers. But then she's actually just getting home right now as I'm talking about her. So she's like, oh, wow, stop talking about me. But yeah, all of a sudden this video she posted 8 months ago is blowing up. It's crazy. Right now, in the past few days, she's getting more views per day than my channel and more subscribers per day than my channel, which is pretty wild considering she was at 100 subscribers. Now she's at 600 something. And this video has 17K views and is getting 1,000 a day all of a sudden.
Oh my god. What happened? Yeah, just random algorithm?
It's just the algorithm. But yeah, so pretty soon Jessica's going to be a famous YouTuber.
Let's go.
So, yeah. So that's pretty wild. Because, I mean, it's weird, too, just because it was, way after the fact. It's not like it was a video she just posted.
Yeah.
I've been crossing my fingers for 2 years for something like that to happen. But, no, it's crazy. The proportion for the size of her channel to have a video doing that well is, wild. So I really think this can, kickstart her. And you know what kind of sucks, though, is that you can't monetize your channel now until you're at you're at 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time over the last year, which is quite a bit. And she's not at those numbers yet, though at this pace she will be in, like, if it keeps up, like a week or two, which is crazy.
Okay.
But at her current level of views, I know based on my stats that she'd be making like a decent chunk of change from YouTube at the current pace, yet she's making zero because she's not eligible to be monetized, which is like, it's kind of dirty on YouTube's part, I feel. Like, because they moved up that threshold, and
Yeah.
her numbers are like where mine are at right now, which means she'd be probably making like $1,000 a month,
Damn.
which is like kind of, I don't know.
That's great.
Like, yeah, I really hope it keeps up. It'd be super cool. And she's posting new videos now and stuff, which is cool. But just so weird how that stuff happens out of nowhere. Like, dude, if a video I posted 8 months ago started blowing up, I would like freaking like do a fucking rain dance or some shit.
It'd be warranted, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Classic YouTube. Yeah, I mean, I guess I've that's been about it though right now. Yeah. Can we take a quick pause?
Yeah, I was thinking maybe let's just leave the thing running and then you can cut it at the same exact time instead of having to pause it and then redo it.
Oh, instead of having to resync?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, that
Yeah.
works.
I'm down.
Okay. All right. I'll be back in a minute.
Alright, sounds good. Alright, we're back. Are we?
We are back.
Alright.
Yeah. We're back.
Yeah.
Maybe this would be a good transition to like shift from because I feel like we covered the updates.
Right.
Maybe just like get into the usual, what are we thinking? What thoughts are being
usual.
thought? The
Yeah.
usual.
I have one.
Okay.
Go. Yeah. I've been thinking about trade-offs. Like, it's just impossible to have everything. And I feel like a lot of what's made me feel rushed over the last few years is trying to do all these things like business and like dating and stand-up comedy and like I love our podcast, but I mean that's barely any time commitment, so never mind on that. And like friends and like travel and like all of these things, and I just realized like it's not an infinite pie, and things do take from each other, and things do take from each other, and that's not a bad thing. That's just in the sense that reality is not a bad thing. Like, it's just the way it is. So I'm trying to just be more mindful of the fact that I can't have everything, and just do everything I can, and I'm trying to focus, like right now, just focus on business, and I'm trying to just, in improv they say this thing like play to the height of your intelligence, which means they say don't play a baby or a drunk person, which means you don't want to think of something and then be like, ooh, like that would be too smart for me to say, that would be too, so like you dumb yourself down. And I'm trying to just like play to the height of my intelligence with business right now and just do everything I can and not leave any stone unturned.
That's great. I mean, it sounds like you're in like hustle mode, you could say.
Yeah, for sure. And and there's a certain energizingness to that, because if you know that you're not selling yourself short, then you just like almost feel like you deserve it, and you think of these ideas and you're like, there's no hesitation about whether you want it to grow or not, because you do want to grow.
That's solid. Yeah. I think on the trade-offs, that's it is a great point. I mean, anything you're saying yes to is saying no to something else, right? And vice versa. But I had a similar even realization back to like the LA versus everywhere thing, because I think when I started talking about this, I was like, what's the perfect place? What's the perfect place to move? What's the perfect place to live? And then like as we kind of build up these potential places, I realized every place is a trade-off. Like every place that we could consider has some things that are better than LA and some things that are worse than LA. Like every single one is a pro and con, right? So it's really just about weighing those things, and you can't have it all, like you said. Every single decision is going to have some bad outcomes to you.
Yeah, it's less about like stress is almost just the feeling of trying to control what you can't. Like when you really realize like what you can't control, then it's less a matter of trying to make the world move and more a matter of just like what order do your priorities go in, and like it's more just like playing a chess game. Like what piece do you move now?
Yeah.
And like by the fact that like so many people have done impressive things, like things that we might aspire to do, that's big, but it's these things are possible if you just whatever you want to do is possible, Matt.
It's a fortune cookie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you've been killing it with the emails. I've really enjoyed them, and you haven't missed a week, I noticed, which I have. I think I missed just one, but yeah, like they've I feel like none of them have been half-assed either, which is great, because I feel like I definitely sometimes I'm just like, okay, let me just list out a few things, but yours have all been thoughtful. They're not just here's a beverage I enjoyed this week. It's, here's something that happened that made me think about this. And here's like everything that sort of came out of that. So yeah, I mean, I think you're doing, at least on the receiving end, it's great. I'm curious, how has like the production side felt?
Yeah. Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. And in terms of production, I think the first few weeks, I knew it was just going to be like a total pattern change. So I really like focused on like getting a good sleep. Not like whenever I do a really long work day, usually the next day will be kind of more relaxed. It's hard for me to do 2 in a row. So I'd make sure that it was more relaxed, and I'd be like writing on Wednesday for a few hours and writing on Thursday for maybe a couple hours. And Friday would come and I'd almost have it, and I put it all together. And as the time is going on, I'm just like, okay, I've done this every week, I'm going to do it. And I kind of just wait till Friday, and I just make it, my rule is just, I don't work on anything else until the email is sent. And the email ends up taking kind of a few hours, be most of my work. But yeah, I do find that there's something that's, I just get the hang of like during the week, I try and like, it's not my top priority. My top priority is the business right now. But during the week, I try and just make it so that I'm like, if I have an idea, if I have a few sentences, I'll write them down. And if I'm inspired to write, and then on Friday, I'll open up and maybe I'll go from something I wrote, maybe I'll go from something new. And recently, that I have been actually working though a lot on Thursdays beforehand. And I'll wake up a little bit just exhausted on Friday, but I'll just be like, I have to do it. I just have to do it. And I talked to my friend Seth, and what's interesting to me is that people, from what I can see, can't really tell that much if I was like super alert and excited while writing it versus if I was just like woke up a little groggy, but I just like kind of made myself do it. Is people can't tell that much. So that's been nice to feel.
I can relate on.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were done.
I was gonna say to feel like I can still, even when I'm not like drink a cup of coffee and just went for a run and on a runner's high and like fucking like had a good interaction with the cashier, like everything doesn't have to be perfect, and I can still do it, which is kind of like encouraging for me.
Yeah, that's great. I can relate on a couple levels. One is, it's interesting that you and I both, starting out, sounds like we were writing it in advance or throughout the week. And then that progressed into, oh shit, it's time to send it.
Right.
Which is just interesting. And I can also relate on the sort of, the output is not necessarily directly proportional to how much effort we put in. Because some of the ones that I feel like how you described as being groggy or not doing that, like some of the ones that I've just kind of thrown together in one shot versus the ones that I like revised and thought about and edited. I mean, I've gotten probably just as good as responses on the relatively quick to produce ones compared to the ones that I really thought about too. So yeah, I mean, it's almost like a Gary Vee thing is like you can't judge the art or whatever he says, the audience is really the one that judges the quality, which I don't like to go as far as to say you should just throw out shit 24/7, but
of course.
I think the thing is like you said, people can't tell how long you spent on it or how you felt at the time. Like it doesn't come through that well. So yeah, I think even just having this conversation right now is inspiring me to I'm going to really try to not miss a week for a while. I skipped, I think it was the week I got really sick. So I guess I had that excuse, but still I could have been like, I'm sick. I don't feel good. I'm sending an email. I could have just done something.
The longer the streak goes, the more it becomes something that you just can't miss, and you become proud of it, and it's eventually maybe you stop forever. But I agree. I think that every week there's a certain you're just really happy with it.
Yeah. What would probably be the most effective thing I could do is cultivate that within YouTube would be so good. But I think what's harder there is it does take a lot more work. But the people that post 3 videos a week every single week, never miss a week, or even 1 video a week and never miss a week, or even occasionally miss a week, but for the most part they're on a schedule. I mean, I really admire that. But I also admire the looseness to be able to be like, I don't feel like it this week. But yeah, I think I wrote about that a week or two ago, just about the balance of, the rigid restraints of a schedule and timing and all of that versus the looseness to say, I don't feel like it.
Yeah, it's I've written 7 emails so far. The amount of emails that I would have written if it wasn't a scheduled Friday thing, and if I was just I'll send it when I want to, I would have sent 1, maybe 2.
Yeah.
It's just I know how my mind works, and having that deadline for this is really effective. At the same time, you don't want to have a deadline that you're not able to hit because that just feels so shitty. So I think it's definitely a balance between, keeping yourself accountable and then not putting too much on your plate that you can't, do it. But in terms of writing, I think having once a week I can send an email. I'm really happy with it, and thank you, man. Thank you, because I would not have done this if you didn't encourage me to. So I think once a week it allows me to kind of form that habit. My goal for the year is to send 50 of the emails, so almost every week. And I think that gives me kind of a really good test run of understanding what it's like to publish something every week.
I also like what you're doing with numbering them. I feel that it seems pretty novel for emails to be numbered. Podcasts would be numbered.
Mm-hmm.
That's not uncommon. But something about numbering the emails makes it feel like this week's issue, right?
Yeah.
It's not just got another email in my inbox from that dude I subscribed to. It's oh no, this is number 7.
Makes you feel accomplished.
If I miss number 7 and then I read number 8, I'm gonna be all off. You know what I mean? I really like that. I should maybe even think about implementing that into mine.
Yeah, man. It's take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you? Was that a very conscious decision, or just something you're it seems cool? How did you come to that conclusion to number them?
Both of those. I mean, I didn't plan it beforehand, but I was just writing the topic, and I just was I want it to, even for me too, it feels good to have, it feels more like it's a journey compared to just it's sporadic, and it feels when I get to fucking 50, that's gonna feel good to write 50 in the subject. I'm almost I'm building, it just gives me a little a little uh, a little gold sticker at the end of each email. Like every number gets higher.
Yeah. I have them numbered in my email software, so I know what it is. But yeah, maybe I should put it in. Maybe not whether it's in the title or not. Like maybe I should just say like this is number whatever it is. I think I'm at like 14 or something. But yeah, and you know what else would be an interesting way to like keep us both on it is like maybe this is just like weird competitiveness, but since I started before you, if I miss too many weeks, then your number is gonna pass me.
Coming for you. I'm gonna start sending 3 a week.
No, only the Fridays count.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
I'll
but
start sending
no,
3
no.
on Friday.
There's no rules. You can send 25 emails a day if you want.
Like, hey guys, I actually had another thought. Oh wait, no, I forgot the thought. But now that I've started writing the email, what am I gonna not send it anyway? Bye.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting to think like both of us. I feel like you've had chunks to your emails, but I've usually done like 4 or 5 little chunks, and some people would probably send those each as one separate thing. It is something to think about, but I kind of like the like sit down, read this collection of stuff rather than just like, hey, here's an email of a song I like, but like have it just be like, oh, here's like a mini little article thought experiment. Here's a song. Here's a quote, and here's whatever else. Like it's kind of like a cool little collection.
Yeah,
But
I've started structuring mine, so I do this kind of like free form writing in the beginning, just on whatever's top of mind, and then I'll do something I recommend, whether it's something new I'm doing, something I'm just like something in general I recommend, and then the third section is like a quote I've been listening to. So
yeah, I think it's a great format. James Clear does something relatively similar. His emails are, I don't read them all, but like I liked the format as well. But yeah, no, you're definitely off to like a super, super strong start.
yeah, I'm excited. I think there's like 26 people on it right now.
Oh wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's exciting, and like almost everybody opens it. So
Damn,
because I'm
nice.
fucking tracking them, and I'm 100 feels really cool to me. Like if I could get it to 100, it's interesting how the numbers feel so different based on the different businesses. But like because this is so personal, I feel like if I could get it to 100, that would be so cool. So yeah.
Yeah, that's true. How like the numbers that's something I've been thinking about recently too, because people are talking about TikTok so much, which I've been screwing around with. It's like fun, but like it's crazy how the numbers are so different on every platform, right? Like I feel like having 2 million followers on TikTok is equivalent to having like 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is equivalent to having like 50 people on your personal email list, right?
Yeah.
Maybe those are a stretch.
I mean, email
but I just
is
mean
great because you own it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in terms of TikTok, I think that's just because it's a new platform, and like these people that have millions of subscribers, that's fucking huge. Like it's not always going to be as easy to get. I mean, and certainly like there's also just a generational thing. Like there's not that many people in our generation that are on TikTok. But
yeah, I think it's just different. I like even comparing it to YouTube subscribers. Like you could have a million followers on TikTok and nobody even really knows who you are. They just like tapped that button because they saw some funny shit you posted. Whereas on YouTube, if you have a million subscribers, it's like you have an army of people that like freaking know you. So
yeah, that's true.
I do think the numbers hold different weight on different platforms for
Right.
sure. Because you'll see people on TikTok that have 200K followers because a video went viral, and then you click on their profile and it says follow my Instagram, and you go to their Instagram and they literally have like 150 followers, and you're like,
Right.
okay, so clearly this is not like really building a deep following with people. It's just like, I don't know, it's a different type of consumption on that platform,
Yeah.
but
And
it
these
is pretty funny.
Yeah. I think about Instagram. Could you see Instagram kind of fading out of popularity over the next 5 or 7 years?
Ooh, that's a good question. I feel like I remember a year ago I started hearing some people I follow being like saying, "Do you guys feel like Instagram's just a little flat lately? I feel like people aren't using it as much." And I was like, "Really? Like I hadn't even noticed that." So I think it's out there a little bit, but I also think, look, like I even heard a rumor just recently that Instagram is gonna basically implement TikTok into their app. You know, I just think that we've reached this sort of maturity with the platforms where the old Instagram, Snapchat of 2017 war, whenever that was, I don't know if it was 2017, but you know, I think that was just an interesting. Not that people hadn't copied each other before, but that was interesting, and I think that was almost like historical in the social media sense of like this new up and coming app does this really cool thing. They're doing super, super well. And then the big app just like literally fucking puts it in their app. And it's just like, oh, shit. So I don't know. I think part of why Instagram could succeed longer term is they don't have a shit brand like Facebook. Like, I don't hear people like, then, I mean, you hear people like hating on sort of influencer culture, but you don't hear people like hating on the app itself, in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think Instagram is still cool. It's still like probably the number one. It's like people are on Instagram for like it's like what Facebook was when it started. Instagram is now. It's kind of like the home for social media among like pop culture. I think these things are inherently trendy, and it's social media as a whole will continue to, as a whole, being every app, the whole picture will continue to like evolve over time, and it's not ever going to stay in one place for too long of a time. So I think that Instagram will either adapt over time or die. I could see it dying. You know, Instagram, it's based on the algorithm, but maybe someone innovates and it becomes more. I don't know. Like, there's just so many different ways to innovate. That I think that something with an entirely different DNA might come along, and people just get tired of the same shit over and over. Like, they want something new.
Yeah, that reminded me of that discussion we had about the sort of like decentralized Instagram of sorts, and I could see something like that, like just breaking the paradigm of what social media is. Though I still think it wouldn't. I don't think it would die. I just think it would no longer be like the number one, perhaps.
Right.
I mean, people still use like Facebook is still massive, right? I mean, even though it generally has. It doesn't have super fans really anymore at all. Like it's still not dead. Snapchat's not dead.
Not
right?
at all.
Like, so,
Snapchat is booming.
You think so? Really?
I think with people that are younger than us, yeah, there's like a different use case. Snapchat is kind of like the new iMessage, and Instagram is the new Facebook. That's what I see. I don't know if I'm just.
That's so interesting because, I mean, a couple years ago, like before Instagram had stories, I got super into Snapchat. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
But now I just feel like, why would I even bother checking Snapchat? I feel like none of my friends even post stories on there. Like, it just seems like, why would I use it at all when Instagram is there?
I think if
like
we were...
Instagram has DMs too.
If we were like 3 or 4 years younger to like 15 years younger, I feel like we'd be on Snapchat all the time. But it's just somehow like there's like a subtle cutoff with our year.
Yeah, but I mean, but I was on it. Like me and Jessica were both using it all the time.
I guess what I'm saying is we'd still
back
be on
then.
it. Like it's still very popular with that group.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I do remember like a year within the last year, I was somewhere like I think we were at like a like I don't know, some like sporting event, and I just like there were a bunch of kids around us, and I just noticed that they were like all on Snapchat, and I was like, oh, that is weird. Like I thought nobody was using Snapchat anymore, but yeah, I guess I just don't get it at this point. It just seems like everything can be done on Instagram.
It's also the messaging. So like I feel like people just text on Snapchat a lot, and then the texts just fade away, and it's
yeah.
I don't know.
Dude, you
people
know
just-
what's funny though is everyone we talk so much about the creepiness of Facebook, right? Snapchat has some weird features, dude. Like if you're like they figure out what you're doing on that map thing. Have
Oh,
you seen,
yeah.
Like, do you
Yeah.
use that? Like
Yeah.
I've seen that like through because Jessica still uses it a bit more than I do. Well, no, she uses it substantially more than I do. I use it almost zero now at this point, unless I see that like somebody direct snapped me. But like her sister uses it a lot, who's older actually, interestingly. But yeah, like they'll be like, oh yeah, like my cousin is like driving right now or whatever, and it's like it shows them like in a car, and it shows them like on a plane, it shows them like eating like food, and it's like how does it and it knows like who they're with, so it like determines they must be eating because it's been like, oh well, this person and this person are in the same location, it's like a plaza, they've been there for 40 minutes, so let me put like a picture of food next to them. It's like and it's like eerily
It's funny.
accurate, right?
It is, yeah. It's funny. Or like when people are sleeping, it has them sleeping.
Yeah, it's like, but for some reason with Snapchat, it's just like, oh, like that's nice, like that's cute, like that's how cool. But then
Yeah.
with Facebook, it's like, fuck you.
It's like you
Right?
fucking stalker, Zuckerberg. Like, yeah, dude. I think Gary Vee says over time privacy will just go away, and we're gonna be sharing everything.
Yeah. Do you agree?
I don't know. I mean, I think there's such a balance because if you're sharing, you don't want to be like, you don't just want to become like the bitch of your desired social image, because then you're just like trying. What I mean by that is like you don't want to just become like a slave to what you want to look like to other people, because then you're just gonna like be trying to project this image that isn't accurate, and you're gonna be like unfree and just like faking life. But you also like, it's fun to share stuff, so I think that like, and people really appreciate shares that are like genuine and vulnerable, just in the sense of like just being open and being like sincere. So yeah, I think that certainly people are gonna get more and more comfortable. Like people are fucking like, we weren't born with this, but people are just born. It's the norm. You just share stuff. Like that's I mean, even for us, like most, like our age, like most people don't share that much at all. I think just being able to like, I think it's uncomfortable. Like you've even told me before, it's uncomfortable to be on video until you've done it a bunch, and then it just becomes comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, there's still a massive difference too from say making a produced YouTube video versus just talking to your Instagram story, which the latter I never do ever. Like I literally don't do it. I've done it in the
Yeah.
past, but I get what you're saying. I think I don't know. Look, on a long scale, anything could happen. Privacy could go away, but I think people are still valuing privacy right now. I mean, even like the young kids, do you think they'd want to live stream their freaking life? Like, I don't know. I think that there's still private moments that even
right.
social media helps cultivate. And I think, Gary Vee brings that up. He always says, like, what people don't realize is like social media is getting people to do more things in real life, which I think is there's definitely a lot of truth to that.
Yeah, I think privacy.
I don't know where I stand on this issue. I guess I just don't know. I just don't know. I mean, I share a lot, but like I have found myself wanting more privacy back since. Not that I'm, look. I mean, people get freaking famous and then they like can't do anything, right? But even me, I feel like I've been kind of respecting
Which is where Jessica's
not
headed.
sharing, huh?
Which is where Jessica's headed.
Right.
This
Yeah.
pace.
Exactly. She's it's just bound to happen.
Like no pictures.
Yeah, Casey Neistat has some really interesting thoughts on this because he shares everything, but then like he has pulled back a lot.
Interesting.
He doesn't share his kids, and I think when you think of it in that way, it's like, oh, okay, that really brings things into perspective. It's like, even like I don't have kids either, but I think when you think about like, oh, like imagine if you had a kid, would you share? Imagine you had a kid and you had 50,000 followers on Instagram, okay?
Yeah.
would you like share? Would you share them like frequently, or would you
I
not?
lean towards no.
Because I think that taps into the privacy issue. Is like, who's making this decision?
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. And, like Gary Vee doesn't share his family at all.
Right, at all. And he's like, Mr. Social Media, right? So he's still respecting privacy.
I mean,
Um,
yeah.
Look at
Certainly,
Tim
like,
Ferriss. He's not sharing like who his girlfriend is, which I get that, I guess.
yeah. It's. I think privacy will always be important now that I'm thinking about it because you nobody's gonna want to say unpopular views on the fucking public forum, so that people will generally always share the more popular views. And yeah, certainly maybe some will share theirs and be brave, but generally not. So I think it's important for people to have a safe space among their own friends to just like talk about what's on their mind. Especially nowadays, it feels like there's this like combative environment around speech. So I think that people should be able to just like talk out their opinions without fearing being like attacked for what they believe. So I think that's the value of privacy.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think those private conversations are. That's almost where the progress comes from. Is like those private conversations that you're thinking out loud, and maybe you're saying things that aren't right, but you're figuring out where the path is leading in real time. And if that was broadcast live, people would look really dumb and be really offensive a lot of the time. But until you kind of figure out where those paths are by having those meandering conversations, what if this?
Yeah.
I think.
Sorry.
Yeah. No. I just think I think it probably is important to have those offline conversations where you're not quite sure.
It's like the analogy that Tim Ferriss, Kevin Rose used in the podcast. Like, if you got 1,000 people into a room, at least 5 of them are going to be total fucking assholes. And just total fucking just shit, just evil people. 5 out of 1,000. It's not too many, but they're just going to suck. And social media is not any different. There's going to be people in any group of 1,000 people that just suck. And, it's that's the danger of sharing. And I also think that over time there's going to be incentives, such as, I forgot if I told you, basically like if you go to a Starbucks and someone has like a, I don't know, sticker on their computer of some cause you don't like or something, you're like, fuck you, you stand on the chair, you're like, let's like stage a revolution. Starbucks is going to be like, sir, leave.
You can't tell me to leave.
And I think that there's going to be some sort of enforcement of civility on these platforms. And the problem with any government is like you don't want to give people too much power to enforce the rules, because then that leads to its own corruption. So I think that just the governance of social media will evolve over time into something more like conducive to a peaceful. And I mean, before like the internet's so new, but before governments formed in regular society, there weren't laws, and people were just, not breaking laws because there weren't any, but just living in fucking anarchy. And, governments need to form in order to make people feel safe. And I would imagine that online is not any different from that. It's just going to take some time.
I feel like it's dangerous too, though, because if it gets too controlled, then it loses that free conversational environment. It's like if you go to early internet, like freaking chat boards and stuff, versus like, say, even Facebook now, which is relatively regulated and, stuff can get you in trouble or whatever. It limits the amount of freedom to explore for sure.
Well, you want it to be probably close to like a democracy, so that the greatest amount of people are happy. So if control means like taking down like these crazy videos or anything, like, then maybe you do that. But it's just, crazy means different things to different people. So it's just about having some sort of consensus about what's allowed and what's not. And yeah, there comes trade-offs with any of that. It's what Brave is interesting because they have this tipping system where people are going to be basically making money based on the amount of attention that they get to their website. And I read through their policy, and their policy basically says if you are encouraging violence, you cannot get any. If you are violent or encouraging violence, you cannot get any money. Otherwise, that's the only rule, pretty much. I think that was it.
That's literally it. That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that model is great, and hopefully we see more and more stuff like that. On the sharing everything, another factor, another piece of that I might even be more concerned with than just my personal privacy is just the concept of adding to the noise, right? Like there's so much noise, and in the platforms want you to be sharing, want you to be consuming. So by sharing everything, you're just becoming a slave of that platform, and you're being the perfect customer for them. And by not using social media as much, or by not sharing as much, or by not consuming as much, like you kind of get back to that peaceful state of normal life. And I think that might even be more important than like, oh, like, is there going to be privacy or not? It's like, are people going to want to give in to what the platforms want from them, right? Like, there already is a war between the platforms and what people want. I think it's emerging, especially, and I don't know. I just think there's going to be like a massive amount of people that like kind of opt out.
Yeah, I mean, people will opt out, and then there will emerge, new systems that these people that opted out get, and that's just capitalism. Is that these things just improve over time?
Totally.
And I expect that to happen. Facebook is potentially vulnerable. Facebook, the umbrella company with Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, all of them, is vulnerable to being changed over time, just as the technology advances.
Yeah. What else have you listened to lately? Anything? Any like standout podcasts or books or other videos? Anything? Just any like new content that's really stood out?
I'm reading this book called Cutting Through Spiritual Materialism right now. I found it through the recommended book list of Steve Jobs, which, just as a quick side recommendation, there's this small website I found. I think it's mostrecommendedbooks.com, where you can see the recommended book list of almost anybody famous, which is super cool, and you can see which books have been recommended the most of everyone. But I'm reading this book, Cutting Through Spiritual Materialism, and it just talks in detail about how, put it in my own words, how so many people in spirituality are so fucking full of shit. Like, that spirituality, people get into it because they're like aiming to escape this petty rat race of society, this like egocentric, just trying to be better than your neighbors and constantly comparing yourself to other people, which is just like so it's like spirit sucking almost, because you can't control other people. And what spirituality is like, all right, like, let's just get back to our nature and let's just focus on what is myself, what is that, and then just trying to get back to that. But in spirituality, a lot of people just like make that their ego, and they fucking get a bunch of beads, and they get colorful clothing, and like they just make this all their identity, and they're like, I've been to India, and I've been to this, and I've been to that, and it becomes its own kind of like more sophisticated ego battle that people pretend is not happening.
Totally. Yeah, there's people like that in Tulum for sure, which could be an interesting transition maybe to talk about that a bit, because I'm also curious about your upcoming stuff. But there's like the spiritual scene there, and for the most part it's cool, but like you see people like that, and not to just shit talk on people, but I remember seeing this one particular group where I was feeling that way about it, because they they just seemed like successful yet into that stuff. Like they're kind of wearing like super chill clothes and stuff. Like I'm describing this horribly, but I think you have the image of what I'm talking about. And like, you know, part of me is like, like maybe I should wear like freaking like floppy shirts and stuff like that. But then I'm like, well, maybe it's like better that I just don't even think about it. Right? Like maybe it's more like maybe it's more me to just do whatever I do and to not be like, oh, like maybe because you're right. It's almost back to that like LA thing or back to that, you know, spiritual dick waving thing. It's just, you know, that. I have to look the certain way and I have to talk the certain way and I have to like be this calm all the time. It's like I have to, you know, fit this image of what we think a person who is, you know, present and awake is. But maybe that's like worse, right?
Yeah, it's like when you're like the true spirituality, I think, is not being too concerned with how anyone sees you and just knowing that you can't control what's in their mind. Why can't you control what's in their mind? Because you can. It's fucking their mind. So I think that is what it's getting back to. And, you know, this book was so eye-opening because, you know, we all kind of have a sense that this exists. But just reading it just made me feel like, oh, like I've been feeling this for so long. And now, like, I get it and I get what's happening and I get why. I think this reason is also why a lot of people look at the self-help movement and feel like it's so full of crap. Because, you know, some people also maybe are just resistant to making changes in their life, so they want to just block it out of their sight. But others see these fucking hypocrites that show up at Thanksgiving that are like, I'm fucking great, I'm fucking better than everyone because I meditate now. And oh, have you meditated, Aunt Shirley? No, I bet you haven't. Like, right. Fuck that.
Yeah. I had an interesting thought about this. I went and visited my brother recently, and they have like a very young baby right now, and like they moved to like, you know, this super not hectic area, and you know, my brother is you know, very, very smart, similar to me in a lot of ways, yet like, you know, he's not somebody that's like exploring these spaces, right? Like he's not reading the books, listening to stuff that we're listening to, right?
Yeah.
But I found it interesting because yeah. But I found it interesting, and I was thinking about some of the things he was saying that he like enjoys now and what he like, how he likes to spend his time, and I was like, oh, like part of me was thinking like, whoa, he doesn't think of himself as like a philosophical steered person, or he doesn't think of himself as a spiritual steered person, but I was like, he's touching on a lot of the same things we're talking about in a weird way. He was saying like, yeah, you know, like I just like to sit and look out and just like watch my little baby and you know, leave the TV off and just like sit here and kind of like look out the window and just kind of be here. And I was like, huh, that sounds like something that like it took Tim Ferriss 40 years to realize, right? And I was like, it just struck me as interesting how, you know, some people that might never think the word philosophy, spiritual, anything, have really found their own way of being in those things without even defining it, right?
Yeah, man. I think also a lot of the aim of this stuff is to get you out of yourself. And when you're thinking about yourself meditating, you are not meditating. You are only meditating when you kind of forget about yourself. Same with reading. If you think about, I'm reading a book right now, for a second you're completely not paying to the words at all. You're just thinking about yourself reading it. And that's the same with spirituality. When you learn about, oh, well, it works like this, and you are doing it, and then you think, I am being spiritual right now. When I think that that is sort of just forgetting about yourself. Like this Alan Watts idea I heard that always stuck with me that is similar. He said, if you're listening to a song, if you're really listening to a song, for a moment you've completely forgotten about yourself. All that there is the song, and I relate to that. Like, yeah, like you do forget about yourself for moments of time in that, and I think that to me is what it's about. But it kind of gets people want to like be the main actor in the movie and the camera that's watching them, but I think all you can do is kind of just be the actor and not worry about not because the actor is focused on everything other than himself, whereas the camera is pointed at the actor.
Yeah, it relates to an Epictetus quote that I was in one of my emails recently, and it was like, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." And I think that relates because, yeah, it's too much to be thinking about, oh, I'm acting like this right now, and I am behaving like this, and I'm thinking like this, and I'm feeling like this. But when you're conscious of that, you're not really doing that anymore.
And
like
you know what's such a paradox? All of these things are such paradoxes, but the irony of Epictetus saying, don't explain your philosophy, embody it.
Right. Because that's him explaining his philosophy.
Right. You know, so,
Yeah.
and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I think that all of these things just are paradoxes. You can't take the words just at face value. You really have to think it through.
Maybe he wrote that as a note to himself, though.
Maybe somebody else wrote that about him and then credited him.
Because I think a lot of those Stoic teachings especially are like, you know, journals and stuff. So maybe he wasn't really intending that to be, maybe it was a reminder to himself.
But even if it was meant for other people, I love it. You know, it's just
still great. Yeah.
It's just the fact that, you know, sometimes maybe you do need to explain your philosophy.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But I think the best thing is to embody it. What if we just were this way and never talked about it? Like this way that we're trying to get to. What if we just were it and we never explained it, talked about what we were trying to do? Like, what if we were just there and that emanated out into other people and it wasn't this thing that we're striving for and defining and putting words to and telling other people that they need to do it? Like, what if we just were it? We just felt it and we weren't even thinking about it. That's probably...
I think that's the heart of it.
That's what we should strive for, and then back to like the paradox and the irony is like I'm explaining that right now.
Right. Of course. You know, and I think that's the heart of it. And what I really feel is like, if you are sincere in just wanting to, I pulled up the quotes, and there's one that actually relates to this. This is the attitude of paranoia. If you look too closely, you will find something fearful. But in order to be a completely inspired person like Buddha, you have to be a very open-minded and intelligent and inquisitive person. You have to want to explore everything, even though it may be ugly, painful, or repulsive. You know, I think that's what it is. Like, if you're really, like, open to just seeing things and you're not in this attitude of like being afraid to look because what you might find, then I see that as important.
Yeah, I definitely I'm going to publicly and to you state that I got to get back on my reading habit because I was really good for a while and then I definitely fell off. So yeah, I do need to. I don't need to. I want to. Like, I feel good when I am reading regularly. So, and I feel like I have more thoughts and ideas that go into these podcasts and emails and Facebook posts and YouTube videos when I'm getting stuff. Like, you need to be consuming and then digesting and then regurgitating in your own way of seeing things, right? So I definitely need to fix that.
Yeah. You know, it's a habit, like all habits. It's I think with reading especially, it's best to do it on a regular schedule and not, at least for me, everyone does shit differently, but for me, I do it on a regular schedule, and every day I read for at least a few pages. Like today I read for like 5 minutes, like it was nothing, but just to be able to do something. think is
Yeah.
yeah.
That was when I mean, I had a good streak. It was really honestly until like just, I don't know, it was either like Thanksgiving or Christmas and I kept going in and out of town. And it's like, then I was off my routine and then just like didn't get back on it kind of. My own fault, obviously. But yeah, I mean, I did have I probably did like what you're saying for, I don't know, 90 days like straight. Like maybe didn't even miss a day. And that was when it felt like, oh, I wake up, I do this, I pick up the book, and I'm going to read something no matter what. And that felt a lot more manageable than like, you know, just like this like sprint reading, because yeah, that never goes well. And then it almost like it teaches you that reading is hard. If you're like, well, I'm going to read 50 pages right now because I didn't read for a week or whatever. But then it's like next time you're like, oh, that was really hard. Whereas versus just like, oh, pick up the book and read for 5 minutes is a much more digestible like first step.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you want to be relaxed when you're reading. Otherwise, you know, it's like I said, you're thinking about yourself reading compared to just focusing on the words.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I have another quote that I just read today that I really like from this book, which kind of encapsulates a lot of what I was saying. We see that looking for beauty or philosophical meaning to life is merely a way of justifying ourselves, saying that things are not so bad as we think. Things are as bad as we think. Form is form, emptiness is emptiness. Things are just what they are, and we do not have to try to see them in light of some sort of profundity. Finally, we come to Earth, we see things as they are. This does not mean having an inspired mystical vision with archangels, cherubs, and sweet music playing, but things are seen as they are in their own qualities.
Yeah. This seems like a really interesting book. I'm curious for some reason, is this an old book or a new book? Or was that quote from the book, or was that just a different quote?
That quote was from the same book. It's I want to say maybe it was written in the 70s. Definitely, it's pretty old. Given that it was one of Steve Jobs' favorites, but
oh, duh, say it was right. I forgot that detail. It's clearly not. It clearly didn't just come out. Yeah. But, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, no, that's true, because it's a great point. Like, even as I'm like looking out the window right now, like that same ocean, palm tree, and mountain or whatever, it's like a lot of it is like, oh, like try to see it as it really is. But it's like, well, maybe I'm already seeing it as it really is, and it just is that. Right? Like, it's not all about
you don't have to
this mystical psychedelic experience of like seeing the fucking water pulsing through the leaves of the tree or something. Like, it's just there.
It's almost, you know, this might even sound psychedelic, but I think that what we mean when we say you want to see things is really you want to momentarily become things. You want to forget about yourself to the point where the only thing that exists in your mind is just, you know, there's just that. There's just the words in the book. It's just the ocean. And, I mean, it's impossible to be there all the time, but sometimes you just, like, kind of get into that.
Yeah. Or to feel yourself, your own body. Like, it's not all about not existing as you, right. I suppose. Like, you know, to really tune into what you do feel and to notice and to be aware of that you're just this radio signal of thoughts that's playing somewhere and you have legs attached to you, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's just whatever it is. Your consciousness is sort of just like a flashlight that can be directed. Or I guess Sam Harris explained it like this: consciousness is every input, and then attention is sort of the flashlight. And yeah, when you really shine that flashlight onto only something, and you don't try to see two things at once, that's, I think, where focus and just where like understanding comes from just forgetting about the other things when you're doing one thing, and then just changing on a dime and when the time is necessary, and then just giving things the appropriate amount of time to really absorb it and not selling it short.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably towards the end.
Yeah.
For some reason, I'm thinking maybe a good way, though I don't even know what my answer would be. But like, what are you excited about? What is like what's upcoming that you're excited about?
I'm excited.
Oh well, wait. Actually, maybe before that, or maybe this is part of it. But
Yeah.
The Aubrey Marcus stuff.
Yeah. So the first retreat is technically February 6th through 10th, which is just next week, and then I'm going from the 4th through the 11th to Tulum, just like give it some bookends. And that's what
Nice.
most people are doing. Very curious. I'm really trying to not have any expectations because I don't want to make it, it has to be great, this or that. I read this book, Cutting Through Spiritual Materialism, and I think certainly some people probably are just very like egoic in their spirituality, and it goes unsaid at any of these things, which is just life. And I won't, everyone has a little bit of that, but I want it to feel authentic, and I want it to feel like I just don't want it to. I don't want it to feel like a competition. I want to feel like a community, and I'm in this group chat now, and like it's there's just a lot, and there's like these are like really like people that are like really out there on their own paths. So I think that a group chat makes it almost impossible to really understand the vibe until you're there in person. So I met up with someone in Austin over the last few days who's a cool guy, and he's doing it also. So I'm just trying to keep an open mind and just take it as it is. And the good thing is that I can get a prorated refund if I ever want to drop it. So I also have the peace of mind that I'm not locked in for the year. So I'm just gonna, not to say that I'm doubting it, because I want to do everything that I can to make it valuable, and I want to even if I meet one person, that could be incredible. But I'm also not looking at it to save me or anything. Like I'm trying everything, and if this is great, then it will be, and if it's not, it's not, and I'll still be fine either way. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that made total sense, but those are like there's kind of a freeform thought on it.
Yeah. No, that's true. It's like it's almost a loaded question. It's like, oh, are you excited? Like, what are you gonna like? It's like it's a very steering.
I don't want it
thought,
to be
so.
a cult. Like I don't want it to be too culty, and like I just you don't know until you're there. But I want and what does cult mean? It means that people don't think things through for themselves. That they just buy into to fucking drink the Kool-Aid because they feel good doing it. And I don't want the whole thing to have a fucking huge ego and say it doesn't. And I'm not sure if that's. I think it's not the case. I think I'm probably going to get a lot of value out of it. But I'm in no danger of drinking the Kool-Aid. If you fucking see me in 4 months with fucking like not being Sam anymore, then come to Austin and rescue me. But I think I'm not in danger of that. But at the same time, I'm not sure. So that would be my only worry or fear. But I also know how ridiculous it is to even claim to know what it's like before I even went. So I'm just going to go and keep an open mind.
Yeah, but I think it says something that's your main concern, because I think that, you're feeling that because there is a little of that vibe, right?
Right.
Or else you wouldn't even be like saying that. So, I mean, but I also think like you don't have to buy everything. But I think that there will be people that are bought in as if it is a cult, I think. But that doesn't have to be everybody.
For sure.
I'm really excited to hear about it, to be honest. Like, because I mean, I don't know, maybe I'd do it at some point, but it just seems I don't know. I guess it's because like you hear him talk about it, but like I haven't really heard like from the inside. I guess it'd be cool to hear your raw experience.
Dude,
You should make a YouTube video. You should
yeah,
make a video.
I want to get
Happen.
into videos eventually. And you know,
Dude, just like
one
film
thing at
some
a
shit
time.
on your phone, and then like after it, just like sit down and like talk about the experience. Here's what happened. Is is it a cult? That's the
Is
title.
is fit for service a cult? Oh god, that would really go over well with the cult.
Yeah, they might suspend
Execute
your
me
rights.
on a burning mushroom or something.
Yeah. Oh my God. They make you eat mushrooms and then they torture you.
Oh god. Yeah, this is all. I know we're gonna be publishing this, so just for my own accountability, we're joking. But obviously, but yeah, man. And here's the thing, also, like even with Aubrey, like he's not like perfect. Like everyone, like
Yeah.
it's understandable to have an ego. We all do, and I think the only thing that tries to really get rid of ego is ego. Trying to be the best person and not having one. So, you know, like, of course, there's some egoism and some shades of narcissism to it, but, you know, that's not all bad. And I really believe that he has, like, really good intentions with all of this. And, like, I met him and, like, I like him. So, you know, I'm just trying to see it as it is, you know, like, not have any expectations of anyone fucking saving me. Or anything, and just to try and like understand, you know, like I'm not trying to see what I can get out of it. I just want to understand what it is, and
Mhm.
do everything that I can to show up, because yeah, you know,
Yeah.
like you said with
No, I
cities,
mean-
nothing's perfect. You know, everything has its drawbacks. You're never gonna
Totally,
find
totally.
a perfect romantic partner or
Yeah.
a perfect fucking business tree, you know. But I call it a business
Totally.
tree. It's really more of a spiritual, whatever. Anyway, what were you saying?
No, just to clarify, like I was like totally kidding too, just because
Yeah.
I mean I think overall it's gonna be an incredible experience. Like no matter what, I think you'll learn a lot from it, and it's like there's gonna be amazing people there, and Aubrey's great, and like you said, I mean he does admit to like he definitely is not somebody that claims he's perfect. I feel like even especially like which I kind of admire is I think like when the book came out, like there was like this sense of like here is how things are done
Yeah.
in that era, like when he was really like starting to blow up. And I feel like lately he's kind of just been like floating a bit more and like being like maybe let's try talking about this. And I think that's both like good and bad because it makes him seem like less on the path, but like maybe that's the path, is that like you're not always exactly on the path,
Exactly. In this book,
yeah.
sorry. In this book I was reading, it said it was like it is a paradox. The path starts when you realize that you want to follow the path, and the path ends when you realize that you've been at the destination the entire time.
Yeah, this sounds like a really interesting book.
It is, man. There's parts, a chapter here and there. I will like. It goes deep, So for a chapter here and there, I won't quite like make all of the connections, but then it'll get back to like past. Like Alan Watts is fucking mesmerizing 100%. This one, it'll be mesmerizing for a time, and then for a chapter, I got out of it, and then I get into it again. So there's a lot of it I really find valuable, and it's gonna be in my mind, I think, for a while.
Yeah. I have so many books on the list. I'm like, do I add this? I have like book anxiety. I
Dude,
swear.
but that's the thing about books is like you gotta read one at a time. Like I even like I've you want to have like at least 300 fucking. I've probably 75 books on my to read list. Like there's nothing to be anxious about of not having read a book yet. You just read one at a time.
Yeah.
And it's always easy to choose what's next. Whatever's at the top of the list. Like
Well, how do you organize the list? What's the top?
whatever you want to read next.
Okay. Yeah.
You can't possibly say that you want to read everything equally. There's got to be one
No,
that
no,
kind
no.
of sticks out.
Yeah. For sure. And I think, but I think the anxiety sort of comes from the fact that I'm never reading them faster than I'm adding them. Right? It's like,
Which-
dude, I swear, like I feel like every other day I'll get a recommendation that I'll put on the list, and it's like I read like 3 books a year, dude.
No, but that's the way that the whole system works. Is like I'm gonna die
Yeah.
with tons of books on my reading list, as it should be. You know, like you're never gonna read all the fucking books unless they invent some fucking Neuralink technology that will cause people to listen to every podcast ever,
Yeah.
and then when they get to this part, they'll be like, "Holy shit, he fucking predicted it!"
Every book you decide to read, it back to trade-offs. I mean, there's only so many books that you're gonna have time to read, so
Exactly.
that's why it's such a crucial decision too. Like, you don't want to waste your time on a book, but you also don't have to finish a book. And if you're not feeling it, like, you
But it's not.
don't have to keep going.
When you think of it as a crucial decision, that makes it harder to decide. Like, this isn't like a decision of life or death. It's just like, what do you want to read next, and read that. Like, just go by
Yeah.
how you feel, and not by a feeling of responsibility.
Mm.
Because
Yeah.
these books are meant to be fun.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think the key thing for me is just like getting back into that habit, because then when you're making progress through it, it feels like less intimidating. When you're not, it's like the stack just grows and no progress is being made.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I think you almost want to set a certain, like, I want to do at least this amount of time per day or per week. And then as long as you're doing that, you have the right to give yourself a measurable way to feel good about it, you know? And even if that's only reading for like 2 minutes a day or like 10 minutes a week, dude, I guarantee you're going to hit some sort of like habit with it. Because the hardest part is just starting. You don't need to think about finishing these things. You just have to think about spending a certain amount. Like, is that the resistance? Just like starting? Or what do you think the resistance is for you?
It does come from starting, but it's more just that it's more of just the flood of alternatives, I would say, because I like reading. I enjoy reading. Like, what I think would be nice is to just dump all the other shit into the trash can and never have to think about it again, and then just be like, oh, all I have to do today is read a book and get some sun and make dinner and go to sleep. Like, then it'd be like, oh, okay, sweet, I can do that. But it's like, it's hard for me to get myself to do even the things that I want when there's a lot of looming things on the task list that I am trying to get myself to do. Like, even if it's something like listening to a podcast or going for a walk, it's like, but I'm thinking about that thing that I have to do, you know? I'm pretty bad at like compartmentalizing those, I guess, and just being like, oh, well, right now you have 20 minutes, just read, and then like later worry about the other shit or whatever. But
Dude, hold that thought
I'm
or
hard.
keep talking. I have to pee. Hold that thought or keep talking. I have to pee. But
Well,
I'm very interested in talking about this, especially the idea
Okay.
of if I could just wake up, go for a walk, and meditate or whatever, read, go to bed. Like, that would be the ideal day. Just anyway, I'm gonna go.
we'll continue.
Give me, like-
I'll just
Yeah.
semi talk to myself, and if that doesn't go very well, then I'll just be silent and we'll cut it out. But I assume you can still hear me, but but what do I do with my mouth? Yeah, let's just cut this out until you get back.
Or we could do, literally, if people are listening at this point, you can even deliver this message through your mic. If people are listening to this point, fuck it. We're not going to want to have to edit this. This is fine. They can just press, there's a fucking 30-second forward button for everything. Fuck the listeners. Oh, fuck, dude. I just realized that my video is on. Hopefully you can't see me.
I don't know if you can hear me, but I can like hear you in the distance, but I can't see anything.
Okay. Yeah, my video is on, and alright. So let's start. Because I think like an ideal day would be waking up, you like read, you meditate, you just like get some sun, you go to bed. Like I've been thinking recently is that that's not my ideal day. Like, dude, like I don't know, like I think there's nothing wrong, or at least for me, like I want to like build businesses or make art or make some sort of creative thing, whether it's like I would love to learn how to make music eventually, but just like I love being creative and working towards a long-term project, and I almost like enjoy the idea of self-sacrifice for that. The only thing with health is that when you start to sacrifice your health, then almost like the actual thing suffers, because 2 years down the line you're not going to be able to contribute it to it anymore. But I kind of like the idea of really working towards like striving.
For sure, yeah. And to clarify, I don't mean I would just want to do that every single day or forever or whatever, but like that sounds to me, that's like what an ideal break sounds like, which I guess is maybe not the best answer to like reading on a habit, because that should go in conjunction with my normal life. But no, I think having long-term projects is super important, even for health. You know, if you look at like longevity, and a lot of the seemingly really important factors are a sense of purpose, a sense of community, things like that, right? Not just food or whatever. But yeah, I guess I would just, it's funny how every podcast I feel like we come back to the same concept of time, and it's probably just because as the therapy session gets deeper, I just realize that's like kind of the root of all the issues. It's just like the sense of not enough time, right? And it's just that's kind of everything. Because yeah, I would love to just make music, or like I enjoy cooking, and I enjoy like going for an hour-long walk with Jessica, or just like chilling and doing nothing for a while. But like I also want to do this and this and this and this, and it's just you never quite catch up. Back to the like you're gonna die with unread books on your wish list, but like you're gonna die with things on your to-do list, which is interesting. Like what are the things on my to-do list today that not only am I not going to do today, but they will actually never get done?
Probably a lot. Probably a lot. And what?
Like they will just slowly lose importance until I decide to shove them under the rug for eternity.
Yeah. And what I guess even recently, kind of going back to the trade-offs, has given me peace with this idea, is just realizing that it's trying to play an impossible game to do everything. And it almost not only is trying to play an impossible game, it's almost deferring the actual game out of fear of playing it, because you can't do everything, and trying is just automatically failing. So it's like less a game of trying to be perfect and more just trying to be efficient. It's like if you're doing what's really should be at the top of your to-do list, then you won't feel bad. And if you feel bad about what you're doing, then maybe the to-do list is just not in the right order.
Yeah, I think that's a fundamental problem with me at this time in my life. Is just like, I think, I don't think that what I'm doing is fully aligned with like what I want to be doing. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and some of that is just, the traps of not having millions of dollars in the bank or whatever, right? Like,
of course.
So,
and having that will help. Which is part of the reason I justify working so hard on business right now, when I would love to be doing more creative, flowy type things, is that, my mom's getting older, and I want to be able to like have enough money to like pay for whatever costs come up, and I want to just be able to like, once I get to a point, I'll literally will be able to like retire if I want to.
Yeah. I mean, that's obviously why I'm on this path too, and striving for those types of successes is because it is important. And But at the same time, and we could probably move somewhere like stupidly cheap and like all that shit. Like there are other paths. Like it's funny. Like there's options, yet like I never took up on them either. But like I think for a lot of people, it seems super like a viable path to just be like, you know what, fuck all this. I'm just gonna move to like the cheapest place ever, and like just live off of like basically nothing, and not need like the trappings of all this shit. You know?
Yeah.
Just a thought, but
I would rather just be able to live wherever I want and be able to.
Yeah, no,
have
for
the
sure,
financial
for sure.
freedom.
But like in the meantime, you know,
Oh, yeah.
like, I just feel like I don't know, like if I was back a few years ago, or like I don't know, I feel like things would be a little different, like being single versus not. But like, you know, just being like, fuck it, like I'm just gonna minimize my need for finances right now so that I can focus on increasing them and focus on having enough now too, like rather instead like just keeping myself in the perpetual struggle of LA, more, all of that, right?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, man. I buy that too, and just as a note, like, even Austin, I do feel like, in general, just over the past like 3 years, my finances have been up and down and up and down, but it's finally at a point where like I'm gonna pay my taxes on time this year. I'm gonna have the money for it. I'm like finally like sort of like getting my head above water with all this. So it is worth striving for, to feel like you're in control with that stuff, because it really I'm not totally there, but I had an interesting interaction last night that I also kind of forgot, but I would be interested to hear. I kind of want to bring it up. So like the chances of me running into somebody I know in Austin are probably like 20 in 1.5 million. You know, based on the amount of people I know in the population. But I got dinner, and I ran into the comedy teacher for my stand-up comedy class, and she was like, "Oh, like, how do you feel about the class?" And I was just like, honestly, like I'm torn, because I would love to be able to commit 100% to it, but it's just not where like I moved to Austin, I'm getting set up here, and I'm focused on the business and this and that, and like I almost feel like I'm selling myself short. And she's like, yeah, like I get that. And she was like, well, I just want to she's like, I think that you're funny, and I think that you probably could do this if you like. She wasn't pushing me to it, but she was just saying like, yeah, like I think that you probably could, and like, and that resonated with me, because I also think that I could, but then it's like, well, should I feel this pressure to like give stand-up comedy a real shot and like really spend time writing, and like don't sell the content short, and like I have some like natural inclination, but then I also like haven't spent time refining content and watching videos of myself, and like in short, just giving it my all. But I'm also like not going to right now, just because like I'm worried about the money, and like, you know, we can't have everything. We're not just like naturally fucking millionaires, you know. We gotta just
Yeah.
I'm just trying to do what's in front of me 100%.
Yeah, no, I can relate, and that's why I'm not just here making music all day and stuff. But I think that's why the finances are important, because the way to never worry about money is to worry about money until you figure it out, right?
Yeah.
So, and then have the space to chill, read, creative projects, businesses if you want to, impact, you know, all of that. Have we ever talked on this podcast about like the ego of the whole impact thing? Have we talked about that? Or have I
Whether
talked
yes or
about that
no,
too?
what was on your mind?
Yeah.
We can
No, I was just
talk about
curious. I
stuff.
just was curious because like that's just another thing, like the whole spiritual thing is, I think there's so much of that with like the impact thing too.
Yeah.
Like all these entrepreneurs, like it's not about the money, it's about the impact. But it's like, no, it's about your ego still, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Both, you know, it's
But
as with anything, it all just depends on like someone's intentions. But yeah, I mean, there's
Yeah.
definitely a lot of ego in that. But at the same time, I mean, I could also say it's not about the money, it's about the impact, because we're all just hoping to impact the world in a way that really kind of it comes down to like what's important to you and then trying to spread that. And I think it's natural to try and spread that. You could say maybe you don't want to be a fucking preacher, you just want to lead by example, like that quote, which I get. But I think what it comes down to is just values. Is like, if the values align, then in my head I'm just like, yeah, no, it's about the impact. But if I find someone with shitty values, then I'm just like, it's not about the impact. Like, fuck off. Like, so
Yeah.
in a sense, it just depends whether I feel like I have the same values as someone. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think we're probably at the end.
Yeah,
But
I feel that.
yeah, I think. How do you feel about this format?
No, I mean, not exactly the same, but I like it. You know, I feel like we found a groove.
Yeah.
And
That's what I would say
yeah.
too. Is it's much better than doing nothing.
Oh,
Clearly.
For sure.
So yeah, I think it should just be like no question, like keep doing these in between whenever we do see each other. But yeah, and I think even similar to the in-person podcast, after a few of them, we got a better rhythm. I could see that happening a little with this format too. Like I think probably we'll have an even better rhythm next time and the next time of this format. So just get a little practice under our belt. But to anyone listening, sticking out to the end, let us know what you thought. Could you even tell the difference?
Yeah.
Back to the writing thing, right? That we talked about.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Maybe it's like, yeah. Maybe people skip the intro, skip the outro. I had no idea the whole time. That'd be epic.
For real.
That'd be, yeah. But, anyways, yeah. Let's wrap up. But yeah, thank you to anyone listening. We
Thank you.
really, really, really appreciate it. Oh, I guess on the newsletters we didn't ever say where to get them. So, sams.blog and mattloberstein.com.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's it. If you go to sams.blog/weekly, then it'll just take you directly to the sign up, which should be on the
Can you find
homepage,
it
but it's,
just by going to sams.blog? Yeah,
it's like it's the second one down. Either way.
Got it. Yeah, just because it might be easier to like remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. But yeah, I'm looking forward to those emails. I'm looking forward to writing those emails. It still is one of the more fun projects I'm doing right now. So I think that'll keep up. But yeah, thanks to everyone who enjoys, and peace out.
Peace.